And so he says, what do you want me to do for you? And the blind man says, Master, let me receive my sight. Okay, so another interesting dimension here is the address that the man gives. Bartimaeus calls Jesus Master. Now, it's a little unfortunate here that the Revised Standard Version translates this as master, because the Greek word for master is actually despotes. We get the word despot from that. It's the idea of a slave master. But that's not the word Bartimaeus actually uses here. The Greek word here is rabboni, which is an Aramaic version of rabbi, which more properly translated means my teacher. The reason I bring up that difference is because rabboni has a personal dimension to it. It literally means my teacher. So by calling Jesus rabboni, he isn't just saying master, he's saying my teacher. I want to see. So he's affirming a personal relationship with Christ. So it's not just, hey, you're the Messiah, you're the king, objectively. But subjectively, he is putting himself under Jesus' tutelage. He's saying, my teacher, my rabbi, I want to see. And there's an implicit faith in that title of rabbi or rabboni. And Jesus responds to that and says, go on your way, your faith has made you well. And then finally, Mark's favorite expression, immediately, euthus in Greek. Immediately, immediately, immediately. We've been walking through this gospel all these weeks now, and you see Mark over and over again say, Jesus immediately did this, and immediately he did that, and immediately he did this. Euthus, euthus, euthus in Greek. Right here, same thing. Immediately, he received his sight, and then he followed him on the way. Last element there. Followed him on the way. What does that mean? Well, hodos in Greek is just the word for a path or a way or a road. And so on one level, what does that mean? Jesus was going on the road out of Jericho. He meets Bartimaeus. He heals him. Now Bartimaeus starts to walk with Jesus. He follows Jesus. He becomes a disciple of Jesus. However, there's also a deeper possible meaning when you remember that the word the way was one of the earliest names for the church in the book of Acts. So in Acts chapter 4, it speaks about Jerusalem authorities persecuting those who belong to the way, hodos in Greek, same thing, the path. And this was just one of the terms that were used for the church. Sometimes it's called church, sometimes it's called the way, sometimes it's called the Nazarenes, sometimes Christians, or all these different names. And in this case, though, it's an evocative term, because if you were asking Jews about the way or the road, another connotation would be the road through the desert at the time of the Exodus, when God made a path in the wilderness. So there are two ways in the Bible. There's the way or the path of the Exodus under Moses, and then there's the way or the path of the new Exodus under Jesus. So we've mentioned before this theme of the new Exodus in the Gospel of Mark at different points, like Jesus going out into the desert for 40 days at the opening of the Gospel, just like Israel was in the desert at the time of the Exodus. We saw Jesus talk about the Son of Man giving his life as a ransom for a multitude of people, just like God ransomed the multitude, 600,000 Israelites from slavery to Pharaoh at the time of the Exodus. So you got all these Exodus images swirling around beneath the surface of Mark's gospel. Well, here's one more. The new Exodus, the new path, the new way that we're all called out of bondage and called to journey into is the way of discipleship. It's the way of following the Lord.